Hello everybody, it's Lucy Wolfe here, sleep consultant and author of The Baby Sleep Solution and all about the Baby Sleep Solution as well. I hope you're really well today. It's September, and as a result of that I've had lots of questions around how to manage your younger child's naps when you are managing a school run with your older children. And I also put a shout out on my Instagram to try and see, do parents also have suggestions around this? Because I think for a lot of us who have older children, we've all struggled with this particular area, myself included. And unfortunately, there are no hard and fast solutions to this particular problem, because it is highly likely, depending on your school run, that it will clash with your younger child's naps in some parts of the day. I guess I was curious to hear what other people had to say, because I guess my own experience is based on my own experience when I was trying to navigate this particular area. At one stage with my own children, I remember having like a 12 o'clock pickup, a 1:30 pickup and a 2:30 pickup, and a baby who needed to be asleep around those times. First of all, what I would suggest is that if you're trying to work on your child's sleep, it can be a good idea obviously to start on a weekend when we don't have the school run dynamic. And then sometimes if you're actively working on child's sleep, it's a good idea to draft in a load of support for the first week to 10 days, so that maybe you're not compromised by the school run as you help your child get into a sleep rhythm. And again, you can do this by using my books or my online courses, or of course working with me on a one-to-one basis. But sometimes it's a good idea to set the scene. And then of course I find that children who have learned to sleep well in their cot and who are well rested in the overnight period, then their sleep profile is much more flexible, which means that we can kind of superimpose the day on them to fit around the school run dynamic. Now, it's easier said than done, I have to be honest with you, around that, because it's hard to be in two places at one time, and it's hard for a child as they get older to maybe sleep in a stimulating environment or not wake as soon as the car door opens or stops or closes, or once they get into the school close or yard and they start to get stimulated by friends and your own children meeting them as well. So it's multi-dimensional, but the first thing I would say is it's a good idea if your child is already in quite a good little sleep system, and if they're not, maybe drafting supports, try and make that happen, and then you can start to dot things around. Generally speaking, when I have worked on improving sleep, your child will be older than 6 months anyway, and of course they will be heading towards a time where they just have 2 naps in the day. When children are on 2 naps in the day, or even 1 nap in the day, the ideal time for the 2 naps is around 9:30, and then around 1:30, 2 o'clock. They would be my ideal times when we're on a 2 nap dynamic. And of course when we're on 1 nap, the ideal time is around 1 o'clock. And of course I'm very aware that that clashes with the school run. So it might mean that you need to do some of your naps on the go. And to enable that, of course, I'd look at maybe getting a snooze shade or something similar to darken up the space, to limit the stimulation for your young child. And also, I would suggest that, let's say you've done your morning school run and your child has fallen asleep, keep walking, keep driving, or keep sustaining that nap, because it's very usual for your baby to wake on the transfer. Now, of course, I've got 4 children. 2 of my children would easily be transferred, and 2 of them would wake the minute you even just put your hand on the handle of the car, or you stop moving the buggy. And I think that's quite temperament based as well. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that if your child has fallen asleep on the go, try and sustain that nap if you know that they're unable to transfer easily. Another strategy that we as a family put in place is that we shared the load with another parent who was in a similar boat to us. She had 5 children, I had 4, and we tried to navigate and share the school run. Even though we were actually going in 2 different directions, it was worth it to us to have a couple of days at home and to swap them out between us. And we did that for a long time, and I think that is helpful to buddy up with someone who's maybe in the same sort of situation as you. And again, that's easier said than done. It'll depend on, the size of your car and things like that. But I just want to get you to thinking around, what could you do? Could you share it with someone else? Everybody's in the same position or similar positions. Another thing that can be helpful is to maybe organize someone to, be in your house. Like I used a family member at one stage when my youngest son was having his nap, but I needed to go and do the school run. they would come over and, you know, yeah, we paid them. And I know that's not in everybody's budget, but I just want you to think about, could you do that? Is there an option around that as well? What I will say around the daytime sleep piece is that your young child has a sleep need, and obviously your older child has their needs as well. And it's just trying to merge the two. It's a blend of the two. And again, if you can just keep remembering that, you know, you're doing your best and so will they, but if you can limit the sleep deprivation, so again, maybe stick in an extra naps, instead of 2 long naps, maybe you have 3 shorter naps, or maybe you have an earlier bedtime, or you do a nap later than what even I suggest, and then you move out bedtime accordingly. Again, there's a little bit of filling out that's needed in order to try and figure it out. And again, another important point just to mention is that it's good to have your child to be used to sleeping in both their cot with the flexibility of sleeping on the go. But again, that takes time to help them to learn to do that as well. And again, just to remind you that whenever we begin a learning exercise, generally start to do it on a weekend when we don't have the big impact of school runs and things like that. I'm so interested in hearing what you think yourselves and what you have found is helpful to you too. And of course, just keep remembering where this particular issue is concerned, it's about just trying to do your best by everybody involved in the dynamic. I hope that's helpful, and I look forward to seeing you here again soon.